Jonathan, my grandma, Sammy Gyamfi. That's I didn't see.
Oh, a journey, and your man also. Yen Paddy. That's what we are beside the walk uncle, no, darling.
Say, Kusiana create your son and say,
first, don't Kusia create 15 cities. So say, Kusia don't 25.
10 cities difference.
25, 26, 28.
28. And one, and I'm also on one. I'm always not a 1.8. They say 3 million. Difference 1.8 3 million 1.2 difference. From January to March.
Hey, 3 million.
Wow.
And I want win. They're 2.4. They say I have 5.6.
Wow.
4 as a prayer. 4.6.
2.4 to 4.6. It's a 2.4 difference. Now they come.
I buy a surrender. Okay.
It's a fan go car and cost. Glory fair car and cost.
Petrol, money in I cost. Petrol.
It's moving out. Buying anti-petrol.
Aye. I can buy anti-petrol. Only a mobile. Yes, surrender. The Woopa press it on a Woopa from Woopa. No more say on what you are for. To the fact I feel a class yaba. About no, I saying up. You over Costa, already so I don't know the one. They are mobile. This is one. That's a waboka. The bear of the check round, you can chill. Just say a mobile. Wow. For with the
Babette petrol, so who do also another petrol and a cost. The Babette near my son, if some Baba here for this one breast of grad here for one. And then only cake once in the year. Cake once in the year. The Bia Wire Day. I'm a young for me to be.
Asampayetia Obayansa pusu obunye wonka na asam Tema putu sam kakre wa supreme Yo kofi omaya woman Omani ya mama Genyi baby ako Wacha za ya wareni Ponsom wanyinyi pa Kaza pa wofyo ye Gamo yembera ye, ebe ya nena. Amaya umano, amaya mama. Shira, Omani Payos, the Poa, and Yanum. Espanya Misroya, Jumana, Yami Besrayan, O'Brien, Boya, Amoya Muraye, Abeya, Efianara, Amabaya, Efianara, Janoma Popo, Asitana, Efianara, Amabaya, Efianara, Adize, Amoya Muraye.
For me, some of my father doom the bar, thing gun, and do my days. And then they can ya UTA instead of subscribe. Now we have a like one and then doing a video for tomorrow, which me tea and in a kaboom, near my mind gun. Akoso. What if you do future say, what video is we? Name GD passer or mind gun at our coma soon, tin about video is we. As what video is there, any young course of the train come and for my Ghana home. Dan digging as a day and yes, yeah, my Ghana and that Makuma so that Wakuma soon to you, yes, yeah, Hano. And yes, yeah, now you think Ghana can be D, election, yeah, ever basui, any moons and sun. I won't come on the ability. Now, a share and maybe a trim by Jimmy Bread. Not a mobile catching. Politicians who draw a barber catcher and throw a wood draw and throw some my person just say near see a person yet and one on the catching. Now on the catching area no more for that pine be soon the that dying at the ajivote navy no more rea. I'm not saying trouble how the catcher has said the age before. Who here Kufu do just and tell 16 years Gina Ghana food in catcher see it is a castle accommodating. Yet is castles to accommodate. So, you in sense and go ban and cause run apart. Get best run up and I can skis to be a quiet. Yet is castles to accommodate. And so you share quiet or dear fast one. Then I may say, just say, it be a more cool school, dear fool, a doctor for a walk, a baby, so somebody said you casa now was a crafting. The food will be to quite pay. Will be to quite pay. Will be a to quite pay. So, I asked a friend. I feel no other kind of one with Diane. A mind cheer me. Nane, mind cheer me, shady. I mean, a mind gun on cheer me. The trigger and home common, said I'm sick. A gun home common, I get to train. Said the wife, see a buy a year. I'm a Gilisa Ghana that Wakuma, so said the news with Makuma Sumo. And then in some people to a quaimo. Sick as some to sing, who sick as some at the same free say, a man penny, who for a don't now bind back now, so 2016 basis I'm brainy, who sick as some at the same. Almost a year more, young fan chum because COVID. Young fan chum if he said COVID. Now maybe so, or mind be an a COVID painless Anna, or mind Dubai coffee. $1 to sika rate friend and dirham. 3.5 dirhams to $1. Since over 2014, for more than 10 years, even by 0.1 and 0.2, Omunina could through COVID, the Edaneda 3.5, 3.6, where they could go na check it. Inti say, Obi catch a share a COVID in tia. Then ye be saw na Bosian so. Bosiana ya ba as an COVID ever to him. Empo yura COVID mu sika ya gia. Bosia ya some boyfriend my home sika ya jiwo airport ya jiwo land port ya gia. Inti amo kan sen yeti ni sen. Amo kan sen train yeti ni sen. Never ko ako share videos bi Sammy Gyamfi di ni ogu akwemu ebie nyame bi so ate say eya se film ebi amekasa ha ne aban enye MPP enye NDC ekoma MPP ebebo mabaso ekoma NDC ebebo nabaso ni ebekwa ama no ebebo nabaso ni awanyi ni yie so no ye di yie beto yie aha enye partisem enye manosem nti anfu okoma enman me di ekire say MPP and NDC na move for come be di ekire say oman Ghana nti na yin na yishia no nti yango he Sammy Gyamfi ye ba ye le twetwe nkomo bi nyama pa ko no bobo so ye ba ye di san komo no bi a beti na eya reho eya sefem yenko ti ne ba ye beto aso
Anche se mo mutua ne ba beti petrol so odo also ana petrol boa ana ekoso le ba beti ni amaso ebisa me ba me yafo.
You can engage in all the propaganda you want, but if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. You will recall that I stated in 2014 that if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. That was true then, and it is true now. I've seen a stability return to the exchange rate. In fact, for the year, the cedi has appreciated in value. When we came in, it was rand. We have arrested it. and the IGP has the keys. He's locked it up. We've arrested it.
People say that John Mahama is a nice man. Oh yes, he may be a nice man, but he's a nice man who you give the economy. Very soon you cannot get teacher training allowance. You cannot get nursing training allowance. You cannot pay your children's school fees. You cannot get a job to do. Agriculture will be declining. Electricity prices will be going up. Is this the sort of nice man we want? He may be a nice man, but he's an incompetent nice man.
Look at the economic management team. It is quite clearly a fantastic team. Professor Gyamfi, Dr. Akotose, Dr. Afriye Akoto, Honorable Alan Chiremanting, Boachi Ejaku, Ken Oforiata, Senior Minister Yao Osafo Mafu. What a solid team. A view and that we should not tax mobile money, because mobile money transactions, a lot of the people who are using these transactions are very poor people.
All of these are hurting. They are hurting the economy. These taxes are hurting. And therefore, you are not going to get the growth. And when you don't get the growth, you will not get the revenue. And when you don't get the revenue, you go back to increasing taxes to get the revenue. And then you are in a cyclical downward spiral. And so they have it wrong. And we will change that particular policy. We will use the tax incentives to grow this economy. And you.
Indeed, we all recollect some of those mouth-watering promises, including one by the current president to transform this country, Ghana, within 18 months. This crisis into which he has led us has spawned hardship and suffering for our people on a scale never witnessed in the 30-year history of our Fourth Republic. Daily price increases, fuel price adjustments, and nose-diving currency, which has rather arrested the person who said he had arrested it. Has rather arrested him. And so we're looking for him, we can't find him. I asked the IGP if he had the key so that we could find where Vice President was, and he said he doesn't have it. He doesn't know his whereabouts.
In Kufuor's time, one of the people who advised and helped him develop a strong Cedi was my running mate, Muhammadu Bawumia. Then he was Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana. It's one of the reasons I brought him to come and join me, that we will work on the Cedi and create again a strong that will be able to allow us to develop our economy and allow our traders and our to be able to develop.
About that. So anybody who's asking 170 questions, you know that he's not serious. And therefore, we shall ignore the 170 questions because he's not serious. Because he's talking about things that have happened.
School at the end of the day, you're going to say, wah. Give. No review today, no review tomorrow.
Government is broke. The people are spending billions to go inside the government that is broke. Have you ever seen a minister who resigned because government is broke before? Government has no money. Have you ever seen a governor who said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was elected, I thought the government had money. Now I discover government has no money, I resign. Have you ever seen it? Government has no money, but they are bringing money out at election time. Where is that money coming from? So they are lying. What is happening is that there are two types of wicked people in government. Type 1, they eat current money. Any money they find in government, they will eat it. They are wicked about that one. There is type 2. Type 2, they eat current money and future money. They will say, my term will end next year. When I leave, how will I eat money? Let me borrow money now and borrow money of the future and eat it now.
But I'm pretty much sure that majority of those watching us will agree with me that the government we have today belongs to type 2, the type 2 classification.
And if the people are spending billions to go inside the government that is broke. Have you ever seen a minister who resigned because government is broke before? Government has no money. Have you ever seen a governor who said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was elected, I thought the government had money. Now I discover government has no money, I resign. Have you ever seen it? Government has no money, but they are bringing money out at election time. Where is that money coming from? So they are lying. What is happening is that there are two types of wicked people in government. Type 1, they eat current money. Any money they find in government, they will eat it. They are wicked about that one. There is type 2. Type 2, they eat current money and future money. They will say, my term will end next year. When I leave, how will I eat money? Let me borrow money now and borrow money of the future and eat it now.
Doc, you see, there is no doubt about the fact that our country is in a deep economic crisis. Never in the history of this Fourth Republic have Ghanaians experienced the excruciating economic hardships they are experiencing today. And in situations like what we have now on our hands, it behoves on governments to step up to the plate and roll out prudent economic measures to turn things around and make life better for the people. After all, that is what they promised the electorate of this country in 2016 and in 2020, and that is what the people expect of them. And so what we need now are not speeches laced with Bible verses and inspirational quotations like our finance minister is known for. What we need now are not press conferences. What we need now are prudent and pragmatic, sound economic policies and measures that government intends to implement or have started implementing to salvage our broken economy. Because indeed, our economy is broke. It is broken as we speak. We are dealing with a national currency, the Ghana Cedi, which is on a nosedive at a very alarming rate. From January to March, as we speak today, the currency has depreciated by more than 15%. In fact, Reuters put it at almost 20% depreciation. And that is unprecedented in the history of this Fourth Republic, that in such a short period of time, the Ghana Cedi will experience such astronomical and alarming depreciation. Now, currently, if you look at even the continent, our Ghana Cedi is among or the worst performing currency. The last time I read that even the Zambian kwacha is now performing better than the Ghana Cedi. That is how low we have sunk as a country. And what this means in reality is that the profits and capital of businesses are being eroded as a result of the free fall of the Ghana Cedi. Livelihoods are being destroyed, and inflation is on the rise. What this means in reality is that people are suffering, irrespective of their political backgrounds, irrespective of whether or not they are NDC or MPP. Randy, if you decided to import goods worth, say, $1 million into Ghana in January 2022, this year, I'm not even going to go to 2021 or 2020 or 2017. Just this year, January, if you wanted to import, say, $1 million worth of goods from abroad, oil, whatever, you needed just about 6.4 million Ghana cedis for that $1 million to import the said goods. Today, if you need $1 million to import the same quantity of goods, same $1 million, you need minimum 8.5 million Ghana cedis. So from 6.4 million cedis, which is equivalent to 64 billion cedis, to now 8.5 million cedis, equivalent to 85 billion old Ghana cedis. So it means that in less than 3 months, you've lost, you need an extra 2 million Ghana cedis, equivalent to 20 billion to get $1 million. You see, that is the extent of the problem we are talking about here. And you can do the analysis with $10,000 or with $100,000. And so, given the fact that about 90% of the products on our market are imported, you are going to see prices of goods and services rising at a very astronomical rate, like we are having now, with inflation hovering around 16%, without any commensurate increase in incomes for the Ghanaian people. And so the purchasing power of the Ghanaian today has been totally dissipated. You go to the market, traders are suffering and crying, and consumers are also suffering and crying. And what we need is for our leaders, the managers of the economy, to think outside the box and come out with prudent economic measures to stabilize the city and ensure that we come out of the political quagmire they, through their very actions and inactions, have plunged us into. But what I have heard you read from the Daily Graphic this morning gives me much cause for concern. In fact, it doesn't offer me any comfort at all that any prudent measure will be announced by the finance minister today when he addressed the media. Because right away, the MPP government is starting, on the wrong premise. Because this whole address by the finance minister, as you have read, is supposed to announce policies and expenditure cuts that will restore Ghana to our pre-COVID, era. But what is this pre-COVID era they are talking about? And is this something that we should be craving for which reason government should be applauded, okay, for the policies they will be announcing this afternoon, which are intended to restore us to that position? Because don't forget that even before COVID, the cedi was performing very badly. The cedi was depreciating at a very alarming rate. Randy, in 2019, before COVID, the cedi depreciated by 12.9%.
That's better than what is happening now.
No, but Randy, 12.9%. Currently, we are doing 15-20%. 12.9% cannot be better. In fact, 12.9% is not better than the depreciating rate we had in 2016. In 2016, which was one of the years that we found very challenging as a government. Here I'm talking about the ex-Wal NDC Mahama administration. The cedi depreciated by 9.6%. And our brothers in the NPP lambasted us, berated us, called us names, incompetent and what have you, for supervising a 9.6 depreciating of the cedi and promised to do better. In 2019, before COVID, the cedi depreciated by 12.9%, far worse than the 9.6 depreciation we recorded in 2016, which they promised to do better than that. And so, if you want to bring solutions that will provide some comfort for the Ghanaian people, you should not be talking about pre-COVID era, where we were recording a depreciation of 12.9%, for which reason government even constituted a committee to investigate the reasons for the depreciating of the cedi. You recall, you reviewed that story here.
Yeah.
My good brother, Franklin Kujo, was part of that committee. And in fact, I have the publication here. Government inaugurates committee to investigate depreciation of cedi. January 17, 2020. This was before COVID. So before COVID, we were already in crisis. The exchange rate was already in crisis. Now, you want to restore us back there. It means that you are very clueless about what it would take for us to come out from this bottomless pit that you have plunged the country into. So, what we need is not the 2019 economic situation. We need an economic situation, an economic environment far better than that. That is the point I'm making. And you see, Randy, until this government accepts responsibility for the challenges we have now, they will not be able to bring about the transformation needed.
Because by government,
glaringly facing them, okay, confronting them in the face, and so they cannot deny that. But they are not being honest about what has created this challenge. They keep on blaming this challenge on the ex-Wal Mahama regime or on COVID-19 and now the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. I am saying that until they admit the real issues, the germane issues that have brought us to where we are and address those underpinning issues, we will not get the solutions we want and the transformation we need. Randy, why will any government blame COVID-19 for the depreciation of the Ghana cedi we are witnessing now? Why? What has COVID-19 got to do with the depreciation of the Ghana cedi in 2022? What? Somebody should show me the nexus between COVID-19 and the depreciation we are experiencing today. If anything at all, COVID-19 even helped stabilize the Ghana cedi, albeit temporarily. Because Randy, you would recall, as I've already indicated to you, that in 2019 the cedi depreciated by 12.9, for which reason in January 2020 government put together a committee to investigate the reasons for the depreciation of the cedi. Now, when COVID struck, the trade system of the world was disrupted, and economic activities all across the nations of the world slowed down. People were not importing. Businesses in Ghana were not importing goods into the country like they were doing before COVID. Because China was hardly hit.
During COVID in 2020, the cedi made gains against the dollar.
Exactly, because demand for dollars was very low. So, if for nothing at all, COVID even helped provide some temporary stability for the cedi. Apart from that, because of COVID, we had a lot of dollars coming in. We got $1 billion from the IMF for balance of payment support in 2020 and got another $1 billion in 2021 for budget support, $2 billion in total. We got another $430 million from the World Bank. You understand? That is aside the $200 million we got from the stabilization fund and the 20 billion Ghana cedis we borrowed from the Bank of Ghana, all of which they've wasted on corruption and profligacy. We know what they use that money for. And so how will any responsible government blame COVID-19 for our current woes? At least relative to the persistent depreciation of the cedi and the persistent hikes in fuel prices that we are currently witnessing. It just doesn't make sense. You are looking for a government that is not ready to accept responsibility for their own failings, but is seeking to blame their own failings on reasons that are completely far-fetched. Take again the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. What is the nexus between that conflict and the depreciation of the Ghana cedi? What is that nexus? Absolutely no nexus. There is no connection between the two. Even if you take fuel prices, you cannot tell me that the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, that is why we are experiencing the astronomical
the conflict led to a hike in crude oil prices.
Exactly. But even before that, we had witnessed the most astronomical hike in fuel prices, even before that.
But Russia-Ukraine has worsened it.
It has worsened it, but the situation was not anything to write home about even before the conflict, because in 2021, let me not even go back to 2020, in 2021 alone, the price of a gallon of diesel and petrol went up cumulatively by 9 Ghana cedis, which was unprecedented in the history of Ghana. We started 2021 with a gallon of diesel and petrol selling at about 22 Ghana cedis. We ended the year with a gallon of diesel and petrol selling at about 30 Ghana cedis, 31 Ghana cedis, December 2021. That was very astronomical. In 2022, before the Russian-Ukrainian conflict would begin on 24th February, from 1st January 2022 to 22nd February, a gallon of diesel and petrol had gone up already by 3 Ghana cedis, which was also unprecedented, even before the conflict. And so, yes, the conflict has led to an increase, significant increase in the international market price. It went all the way from 100, 105, 120, 130. But you realize that it's been coming down since then, yes. And it has come down to $125.
Even less.
And even less. I checked that about 2 days ago. I'm sure it will be lesser than that. Why haven't we seen commensurate reductions?
Exchange rate.
Because of the dollar. So the main reason why prices of fuel are going up, yes, the international market price is a factor, but the major reason, as was said by Toby Afedo a few days ago, is the depreciation of the Ghana cedi.
That's what makes us take a bigger hit than others.
Exactly.
Although everybody
exactly. And that is why it is about time we called on Dr. Bawumia, chairman of the economic management team, to come out of his hiding hole. Okay, and do what he promised to do when he was in opposition.
I read a statement, I read a story to the effect that Dr. Gideon Boaku says that he would speak in April.
In April? Why April?
He has a
why not March?
He has a speaking engagement, so
why
take advantage of that to speak.
But
you don't determine for him when
he's behaving like a Muslim lady who is about to get married and who has been put, indoors, locked indoors to stay there for some, religious rituals to be performed on her, only to come out at the right. I mean,
but he has his timetable. You don't determine for him when.
Ghanaians also have our timetable. We have a social contract with him. His boss, candidate Akufo-Addo, told us that the reason why he was brought on board as running mate and now vice president was because of his spectacular expertise in managing national currencies. And so we were given the expectation that with Bawumia we will have the magic wand to stabilize the cedi. And when they were elected, Dr. Bawumia told us that he had arrested the dollar and given the keys to the IGP. Today, he is nowhere to be found. He's gone on hibernation for far too long. We've not heard him on the current crisis we're experiencing, whether on the persistent fuel price hikes
it's very difficult apprehending people who break jail. So you need to appreciate that it needs time.
The fullness of time has exposed Dr. Bawumia as a man who is very hollow, when it comes to prudent economic management. It has exposed him as a man who is bereft of practical knowledge, the practical knowledge to implement the lofty economic theories he propounded when he was in opposition. And that is why he's gone into hiding. I'm saying he should stop acting cowardly and step out. So the finance minister, Dr. Bawumia, and government should be told in very clear terms that we don't expect them to restore us back to where we were before COVID. This impression they've been creating that, oh, all was well with our economy even before COVID and all that, is neither here nor there. And that is why the World Bank's country director has said publicly that even before COVID-19, our economy was on its way to the mortuary.
Now, gentlemen,
trying to artificially shore up the cedi by pumping in dollars, and that strategy has never proven sustainable. The problem we have is the huge amounts of capital flow reversals. Investors who are pulling out of the Ghanaian economy. That is what is bringing to bear too much pressure on the Ghana cedi, because people are looking for the dollars. Investors have lost confidence in our economy. They no longer want to stay. And we do not have the dollars. The Bank of Ghana doesn't have the dollars to pay these investors. That is the problem. Why are these investors pulling out? Why have they lost confidence in our economy? Randy, it is simple. Poor economic management that has led to the poor fiscal situation we have. This government took office, and contrary to their own promises of reducing borrowing, contrary to the wise counsel that they were given by the opposition NDC and other Ghanaians, decided to go on a reckless election-related, consumption-related expenditure spree. And so you realize that, Randy, in 2020, in the year 2020, when COVID struck, the total revenue government raked in was 55 billion Ghana cedis. But our total expenditure was 100 billion Ghana cedis. And so the deficit alone was 45 billion. And that is why that year we recorded an unprecedented budget deficit of 15.7%. They blamed that on COVID-19. But that excuse was very farcical, was untenable and unacceptable, because we are not the only countries that experience COVID-19. And if you check all our neighbors, our peers, you realize that they did budget deficits far lesser than what we did. Nigeria, Malawi, Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Togo did recorded budget deficits of less than 7%, while we did 15.7%, because they wanted to win the election, the 2020 general elections at all costs, and so overspent by, in nominal terms, over 45 billion Ghana cedis, which translated to 15.7% of GDP. You understand? Now, once that hole was created, because what the budget deficit simply means is that you have exceeded your revenue. Expenditure has outstripped revenue. And so you must borrow to finance that deficit. That is what led to an astronomical jump in the public debt. And so you realize that in 2021, Randy, even though COVID-19 had subsided, and one would have expected expenditure to come down, governments actually spent more in 2021 when COVID had subsided than they spent in 2020. In 2020, they spent 100 billion. In 2021, 111 billion, with revenue at 70 billion. So from a deficit of 45 billion in 2020, they came to a deficit of 41 billion in 2021. You understand? And so it is this recklessness that has led to the unbridled and excessive borrowing they have engaged in the last 2-3 years, such that today our public debt has moved from 120 billion as of December 2016 when we were leaving office to 361 billion as of December 2021. Close to 300 billion increase in our public debt. Debt to GDP has moved from 56% as of December 2016 when they were berating Mahama for borrowing too much, incompetent and all that, to now 83%. Today, our tax revenue of 55 billion, which is what we recorded in 2021, they are projecting an unrealistic target of 80 billion, which is a 44%, represent a 44% increase, clearly unrealistic. Our tax revenue 90% of that is being consumed by only one budget item, debt servicing, interest payment and amortization. Even if you take total revenue, we are spending about 50% of that on debt servicing alone. When you take out compensation, 80% wiped out. What you have left is not even enough to take care of statutory payments. And so we are now borrowing to even service our debt, to pay interest on our debt, borrowing for statutory funds and all that. We don't have anything for infrastructural projects, capital expenditure, or even goods and services. Like Mr. Pratt told you yesterday, government now has to even borrow to construct gutters, borrow before they can get money to buy A4 sheets, fuel for the vehicles of the president and all that. This is the situation we find ourselves in. And this is why the sovereign credit rating agencies like Fitch, like Moody's, have all downgraded Ghana to positions that we've never found ourselves in since we became a lower middle income country. We've been downgraded by Fitch to B-, our worst ever performance under that rating. We've been downgraded by Moody's to CAA1, our worst ever performance under that rating. What it means is that we are at high risk of defaulting on our debt repayment. And so now we can't go to the capital market again to borrow like we've been doing every year, where we go and borrow $2 billion, $3 billion to come and pump that dollars into the economy and shore up the city. We can't do that again. We've lost access to the capital market. If we go, we will be getting interest rates at about 15% and above. And when that happens, it means that your bonds are junk. Nobody will be interested in that. So the problem now is that through reckless spending, reckless borrowing that has increased our public debt to unsustainable limits, investors have lost confidence in our economy and people are pulling out. Coupled with, of course, as I've already explained, the depletion of our international foreign reserves, which is a major concern for the investor community. What that means is that the shock absorbers left are also being taken away. And if they make that suicidal mistake or attempt to take $2 billion from our reserves, which currently stands about $5 billion, and pump that into the economy again, that will further dampen investor confidence. And in the medium term, the cedi will depreciate at a rate never seen before. And so what government needs to do now is to think of ways of increasing revenue without necessarily imposing new taxes. Government must think of judicious utilization of revenue. Government must think of significant cuts in expenditures. We've been advising them to cut expenditure, live within your means, cut your coat according to the size of your cloth. They've been insulting us, calling us names. I'm happy that now that the chickens have come home to roost, they are ready to listen to our wise counsel. But you see, this is not the first time they've told us that they are going to cut expenditure. They told us 3 months ago that they were cutting expenditure by 20%. Randy, you recall when there was a brawl over the approval of the 2022 budget. They said they were cutting expenditure. 3 months down the line, they are telling us that the finance minister is now going to consult stakeholders on which expenditures to cut. It means that in the last 3 months, they've done basically nothing to cut expenditure. We don't want any political rhetorics and false promises. We want them to cut expenditure in truth. And here I am talking about the outrageous allocation of a whopping 3.2 billion Ghana cedis, which is what they have allocated to the Office of Government Machinery, President Akufo-Addo's office, for 2022 alone. That is the money he's been using to rent luxurious private jets.
The presidency, if you look at this issue of the flagship program, we realize that almost all of them are under the presidency.
No, but
that should explain why there will be a very
not all of them. Not all of them. Free SHS is not there, and Free SHS is taking the chunk of it. 1D1F is not there.
Free SHS is a separate.
It's under Ministry of Education.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's under even 1D1F is under Ministry of Trade.
Okay.
And One Village, One Dam used to be under Hawa Kumsin's ministry. I don't know where it is now.
That's under the presidency.
Okay, now, but what are they even spending on One Village, One Dam now? The poorly dug house they constructed in northern Ghana, most of which have collapsed. And have become, have occasioned huge financial losses to the state. Is that what they are spending the money on? Randy, you see, there is this subtle attempt by government communicators, led by the information minister, to blame our economic woes on so-called government flagship policies. We should not fall for that, because we know that by the end of 2022, government would have spent almost 530 billion as total expenditure by the end of this year. 530 billion. Yes, total expenditure by the end of this year 2022.
You mean from when?
From 2017. Because 2017
you got me worried.
Yes, 2017 total expenditure 51 billion. 2018 59 billion. 2019 70 billion. 2020 100 billion. 2021 101 billion. 2022 they are projecting to spend 137 billion. Yes. That will lead to a total expenditure of 530 billion. Yet free SHS, planting for food and jobs, one district, one factory, one village, one dam, and all the other flagship programs put together, which are 16, will be costing by the end of this year 42 billion Ghana cedis. In percentage terms, 8% of what they would have spent by the end of this year. That is a small fraction of the money that have accrued to them.
The data you gave earlier,
yes,
I mean, shows that there are 3 items that are constituting about 70% of our.
Now, who calls them? If you continue to borrow for consumption, okay, your public debt will will go up. Your debt servicing burden will go up. We recall that in 2016, we were spending 14 billion on debt servicing, interest rates and amortization, 14 billion. And they said it was too much. Check President Akufo-Addo's first State of the Nation address. He said it was unacceptable for a country like Ghana to be spending 14 billion on debt servicing per annum. Today we are spending 45 billion on debt servicing.
All right.
So that's the problem. Now, finally, on fuel prices. Like I've already explained, the most important thing for government to do is to stabilize the currency. And as for that one, they have the magician, Dr. Bawumia, who should not look far at all to find the solutions. If he goes back and reads his speech, the lecture he delivered at Ashesi University, he will see all the solutions there. Right. Stabilize the cedi, but also scrap the needless and crippling taxes on the price buildup of fuel. Because Randy, I tell you, I have gone through that tax buildup. And I can tell you that 90% of the taxes there are unjustifiable for a time such as this and should be scrapped. And if you can give me just 1 minute, I will just run you through some of those taxes. No. You want to go for a break?
Kemo yembera ye, ebe ya efiri yana.